Hello and welcome to the AEW review on Wrestling Headlines. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and I'm joined by James Boyd. I'm not doing any faffing about tonight. James Boyd, how are you doing?
I am doing a lot better than that show I watched. Yikes. Uh, Yikes.
This is it's weird because this is Dynamite. This is normally the review where we just all chipper and wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that amazing? This is the tone I have with Raw reviews. It's like, let's get this thing out of the way so we can just talk about the next thing I want to get out of the way. Maybe this one thing's good. It's like, no. I was saying before we came on air that I was looking at my notes going, well, no, a lot still happened, but there was something off about the entire show, really. And for me, I was picking up on, I thought it was very weirdly paced. They were like the opening segment. I didn't feel like pulled you into the show. Then there were like too many which kind of felt a little bit similar. Then the kind of building to the main event felt a very good building character, but not like not massively interesting to draw you in or anything. Like if I was to critique it, I was like, oh, stuff still happened. It doesn't mean it was the most interesting thing in the world, but I'm getting notes from it. So if I was to critique it, I'm like, well, I can't say nothing happened, but it doesn't mean it was interesting or pulled me in. But anyway, James, before we get into talking about the debut of Brody King, just first off, what did you make of this episode of AEW Dynamite? The first review for us of the year for Dynamite.
Oh, man. A lot of mediocre wrestling. I would say, quite frankly, there was only one good match on the entire card. I know people like the CM Punk and Wardlow match more than me, but while watching, I was like, because I'm sure this came to your mind. I'm sure this came to a lot of people's mind. I didn't watch. I was unspoiled. I didn't finish watching the show until probably like 15 minutes ago. But watching, I was like, oh, he's doing Diesel Bret Hart 95 Survivor Series, where like Diesel whoops his ass for like 85% of the match, and at the end, goes for the Jackknife Powerbomb. Schoolboy or inside cradle for the win, or not schoolboy, but I'm saying like a small package for the win, and like that's that'll happen, except like the Bret and Diesel match was way better than this. So it is what it is. And when I was a kid, like I hated that match. So like I think people like that match a lot more than I did. So like I'm thinking in my mind like he's doing that's not what he's doing, and then sure enough he did it, and I was like, oh, in this match when he was as good as a match I didn't even like back in when I was a kid. So I was like, okay, whatever. It furthers the Wardlow thing. But I after watching that I was like, you were better off just not even doing a match. If the whole idea was like we have to keep Wardlow really strong, and it's really funny saying that when we have CM Punk involved, we got to keep him really strong, but you're going to win at the end. Just and then once you go through like the really quick non-match or match that wasn't really a match between Deeb and Sheeta, the Powerhouse Hobbs and Dante Martin, it was okay. Then you get the Bear Country versus the Acclaimed. I don't know who was asking for that match on national television, but whatever. Garcia and Guevara, I like that match a lot. I just think that it but it was really more of a subplot for whatever they're going to do between Jericho and Kingston, which is a bit unfortunate, but sometimes cruiserweights got to go out there and Six has to go out there and wrestle, and during that time everything's about Hogan and the rest of the NWO, the A-teamer. So it is what it is. I just wish it wasn't a main event if that was the case, but whatever. Like I like Dan Garcia, but like I kind of don't like the tax that is 2.0 that you have to go through and watch 2.0 to watch Dan Garcia. So it's a give and take. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned off the top, like the highlight of the show. I think that the highlight of the show is the return of Archer in the appearance finally of Brody King.
Yeah, those two things together. Again, it's really weird. That's why it's weird to review. It's like, no, those two things for me are definitely good, but overall as a show, when I review Monday Night Raw, I decided to I created this thing called the fatigue point, where I realised it was a point during the show where I just checked out. I was like, okay, I'm ready for the main event now. I just want it to end, and I thought, okay, as I'm like reviewing Raw, And I instead of just being able to go, oh, I have fatigue at a point most shows, I was like, no, I'll actually keep track of it. And I can say some weeks there was no fatigue point. I just made it all the way through Raw. So it's like, congratulations, it's not universal. However, quite often, when the in-ring segment count gets towards double figures, that's when the fatigue point was normally there at some point in the show. Because it's way too many, like, quick, short segments. Like the Car Crash TV, the 90s, doesn't work across 3 hours. You're just knackered. You're done in. You don't really want that many segments in it. Like, get Vince Russo out of here. Like, no, give me those longer segments to sink my teeth into. Or because I'm English, I'm not watching it live. If I zone out a bit in a match, I'm able to just skip forward to when they're kicking it up a notch. That's fine for me. It's perfectly fine. But with this episode of AEW, we got 8 in-ring segments for a 90-minute show, or like 2 hours. That's still quite high because you're getting to normally it's like 6 or 7. Winter is Coming was 4, obviously, because one of them was an hour long, but still,
right.
It's kind of indicative that they only have 3 segments in the second hour, which kind of like that does let you know that, trust me, less segments works a lot better. Specifically in-ring segments, they broke it up as well with lots. If you include all the different backstage segments that were setting things up, we're talking 15, 16. There were so many things in this episode setting things up with backstage stuff. But for the first time on an episode of AEW, I mean, since I've been keeping track of it, because I didn't keep track of this 3 years ago, but I actually got a fatigue point watching Dynamite. I was like, that's weird. I don't normally sit in a Dynamite and go, okay, I'm ready for the main event now. That happened this week, and it was after Shida versus Deeb. Like, when that was really quick.
Yes,
yeah.
same exact point. As soon as they went to it's a 2-minute match, and this ref stops because she can't tap out because she tap out, but she's just dead to rights. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. I didn't remember what was next on the card except for the main event. So I was like, what is even next? Then I see Penta and Matt Hardy. I was like, oh God, is like Penta going to lose to Matt Hardy? Please don't. Luckily it didn't. But I was like, oh no. The match was actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be because I kind of think Matt Hardy kind of has a force thing out of his back. But it was that's exactly where I was at with you. Serena Deeb and Cheetah. With that, I was like, I'm done. Like, get to the main event.
Yeah, and then after that, we had like Jungle Express setting up their match for Rampage, and then we got the match with Hardy and Penta. Then you've got the incredible acting of Statlander, Red Velvet, and Layla Hirsch, and it's like, oh dear.
Woo, boy.
Then Bear Country versus the Acclaimed. That's all after Hardy Penta, and it's just like then they have to run through. They've got Pac's amazing promo. We'll say Pac turning into Daredevil. Oh, amazing! I love it. But then we also got like the running through of all the matches on Rampage and Dynamite. Then Matt Hardy and Andrade. Then the main event, and I was just like, oh my word! There's so many things happening in such quick succession as well. I just got fatigued, and for me, it's all like a pacing thing. Some of this didn't have to be on this show. For like maybe even Hardy and Andrade, you put that on Rampage. Maybe there's no real like link between the people there, but you could just do it. They do that sometimes. Just throw in an interview to set up something for like the next week or whatever. That would have been fine. Just to like break up the sheer amount of stuff on this episode, because there was a lot.
Yeah.
They were setting up a lot of stuff, and that might have been like the thing that actually broke the camel's back. We're just trying to be too ambitious the amount of stuff they were setting up.
Remind me, what happened after the Acclaim match? Was there any type of running or angle after that, or was it just a match?
Oh, I mean, Darby Allin's Sting.
That's
their
right.
Attack.
Okay, so realistically, the only match that like it had no reason to really be there, or could have happened like a week after, would have been like the Dante Martin and Hobbs match.
Yeah.
Which was
one I was looking forward to. It's just that they had a very similar kind of rhythm of match right before it in Big Boy versus CM Punk. Like to then do Big Dante Martin versus a Big Boy. It was kind of like the kind of rhythm of the story you're telling is very similar. I've just sat through like an elongated version of this match, kind of like really. So that was a little bit of a. It's weird. It's weird to criticize AEW with the pacing of the show, which is normally something they're so good at. I think that's why it sticks out, really.
Yeah, probably.
But the topic of the show, or the thing that drew most attention. I had a choice between three things, really, which really stood out to me. Choice number one, Lance Hoyt. I've forgotten his name. Lance Archer. That's his name here. Not TNA Tramp Stamp. Lance Hoyt in becoming we say becoming number one contender. Already was attack Hangman Page, and we've had it before in AEW. There is a precedent where if a champion gets angry enough, they will give a title shot to the challenger. They will jump the queue, especially when you look at the top five now. Is a lot of young guys or people who need like one more feud before Hangman. It's very clear that's true. For example, Adam Cole just needs to wrap up what he's doing, then we can head. For me, Revolution is perfect for Page versus Adam Cole. They've kept them apart. They just finished this. They both have their current feud of like he gets through Archer, and then the challenge, and then Adam Cole gets through Orange Cassidy. You're all set for Revolution. Perfect. It all works fine. But then you're looking at guys like Wardlow, Dante Martin, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, you're clearly not going to be number one contender, but because they've heated them up, they're kind of there for like maybe for like a spot in the near future, but they're not going to be challenging for the title immediately. Someone even suggested, do you even do the mega heel run with MJF when you could just immediately give it to Wardlow in a destruction kind of like thing? It's like, I don't know. I didn't even know if I want them to drift away from the pillars at all. He was like, yeah, I'm fine with them telling me these four people are going to be champion, and then those four people are champion. It's like, do they even need to drift from that? I don't really know. Kind of like it. Anyway, that's the tangent. The thing I'm actually going to talk about is the debut of Brody King, which is the two things really that were all over my Twitter feed were Brody King's debut and Adam Cole and Britt Baker. And the thing with Brody King was obviously the people who are big wrestling fans know who this man is. He has wrestled everywhere, be it in PWG, be it in New Japan. You have seen this man in the Ring of Honor, was his recent mainstay. He's been all over. A very well-known name on the indie scene, but not known to like main WWE guys, which brought out the best kind of criticism on Twitter, obviously, of who? From the same people who go, oh, AEW's just WWE guys. Like, yeah, but when they debut somebody who's not, you get the who response. So there is no winning, therefore you might as well just pay no attention to them. The best thing I do on Twitter, if I see someone like that, I just block them and move on. It turns out if you curate your Twitter feed, it's a lovely place. And the amount of people that you see complaining, getting complained about, I just don't come across them until someone else brings them to my feed. Something like that. It's like, curate your Twitter. Oh, it's a lovely place. It's so nice. It's so nice. But yes, Brody King. We've teased it for a while. And for me, the thing that immediately defeats the who chance is, it's like the Suzuki thing. Where that criticism was, the main audience aren't going to know who Suzuki is. It's like, yeah, but who cares? When you look at the way he got introduced, you look at that ovation as he charged towards Moxley. It's like, it doesn't matter if they didn't know who he was 5 minutes ago. Look at that. They know who he is. It's obviously that does all the stuff in the world. It's like, it doesn't matter who they know who he is. Like, the story in the moment is great, so who cares? But for me, this is also great. Brody King coming out after we had our Matt Hardy versus Penta El Cero Miedo match. The Cero Miedo counter ticking off the scale. He's just, as a babyface guy doing it to the crowd, he's just, like, he does it a lot throughout the match, but you're reaching almost double figures before the bells even rung. So right off the scale. Hardy was promising to leave Penta in the hospital with his brother. He did not. Package power driver to you, my friend. After the match, Penta had a message from Malakai Black. He's going to show him some respect. Lights out. We're becoming a bit of an AEW trope, but this time, no, I'm fine with it this time. They've used it, like last week they had the lights go out, the fans were chanting Brody King, nothing happened, it was just like a teleportation lights out. But that means this week, my immediate reaction when they started chanting Brody King when the lights went out, I'm like, I mean, they taught you last week that doesn't necessarily mean as a debut. Like, are the fans gonna learn eventually? But then the lights come out and he's actually there. It's like, oh no, the trick worked. They got me to expect that he might not actually be there. But Black takes out poor Alex before taking the fight to Penta, tearing out the left eye of the mask, which was awesome. I really like that touch. For the Varsity Blondes making the attack, Julia Hart shouting for the men to stop. Is Julia Hart a goodie? She got some conflict there. Malakai laughs before the lights go out again. Brody King, awesome beatdown, a rival for the large tattooed male, and I'm really looking forward to. I forgot the name of the tag team, because they are PWG tag team champions.
Something involving Black Thrones. I forgot what it's
called. Was it the Kings of the Black Throne?
That's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah. But
something that sounds like I don't know. Sounds like a metal song title. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, for me, but it's been a teased pairing for a while. But to actually see the trigger pulled on it, I'm really hyped on it. Yeah, what do you make of the debut, James?
Yeah, happy to see it. I wish that it had been in the middle of a better show, in front of a liver crowd. But the crowd still popped for it, and I think he's one of the people that I wanted out of after Ring of Honor is going to whatever reimagining they're going for. He's one of the people that I thought that I said to myself I would like him to be in AEW. The two people that came to mind, or three people that came to mind, were Bandito, him, and Jonathan Gresham. So he's here. I guess you say 1 down 2 to go, but that's kind of where we are now. And I think him and Black being a tag team is going to be great. I kind of feel like the tag team division has kind of waned a bit. But with Red Dragon, with potentially the tattooed guys, I think it's going to be on again. I think it revitalizes the division. And I think, I feel like one of these teams are going to pop. I feel like the constants are FTR, the constants are the Lucha Bros, the constants are the Young Bucks. I feel like, with Red Dragon and the champions, and also this new team, you now have I feel like you have a deeper roster up top of people that can, be featured and no one would bat an eye. Because I think Malakai is super over in front of live audiences. It's just he had a little bit of a slowdown with the end of the Cody stuff, getting away from it. But I think this is what they need. I feel like he can kind of be their Undertaker in a way. Maybe not as big of a star, but as far as the badass, and once the lights go black, it's it's on. He's gonna appear out of nowhere and teleport and do awesome shit. So I feel like having a heavy Brody King, I mean, we've all seen him wrestle. The dudes that look like that, completely blow your mind with the things he can do aerial wise. So it's gonna be fun. When he hits one of those acai moonsaults, and is do you wonder if the rope's gonna snap? Your people's jaws are gonna drop. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, especially obviously being fans and having seen the guy before, we know what we're in store for, and seeing those first reactions to guys who get this kind of exposure. Oh yeah, 100% a guy who's. I'm surprised wasn't in AEW already, but then obviously signed to Ring of Honor. Amazing talent. Anyway, so now we're going to go through the show in order, and it makes sense to immediately talk about one of the other three topics of really the main talking points coming out of the show. Adam Cole and Red Dragon started off the show. It's time for a promo train, everybody. I don't know. For me, this isn't WWE. This was kind of known as a WWE trope for a while, especially when. I was about to say when Randy Orton was champion 13 years ago with Legacy or whatever, where just every single show would start with a 20-minute Randy Orton promo. But I had to realise, wait, no, that's just a WWE trope. They just start off with a promo train to hype up something in the show.
That goes all the way back to the McMahon Helmsley faction, and even back to start at the top of the thing with The Rock and Austin and McMahon 98, 97, 98 is when they start doing that. It sets the agenda for the entire show, and you wonder when Austin's gonna get thrown out the building by cops, and then he'll make his way back to the building to spray people down with whatever, or do some type of damage with property damage with a vehicle. That was their thing. And then it was even happening in all the way through. Whatever heel was the top champion at the time, they'll come out and they'll be able to go out there and filibuster. I remember Seth Rollins in 2015 was just every single week, every single Monday, he was going out there for 15 to 20 minutes, no matter what. And sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't.
For me, that's the best review of this style of opening. Sometimes it's good. It's not always good. When it's not good, you really feel it. It kind of sucks. Oh. But for me, it felt like it was continuing to heat up the tag division whilst also kind of preparing Cole for whatever's next for him post Cassidy. And like, yeah, I really like the touch of Young Bucks saying that their resolution was to win back the tag titles, and then O'Reilly's like, "Oh, that's our resolution. Oh, what a coincidence. Oh." And you can see the tension between them before Adam Cole just immediately interrupts, just as like, "Oh, wait, this is amazing. This is what friendship needs, some friendly competition." Just like trying to stop the group from like really breaking apart. And I did have a reaction to like Matt Jackson with the tough wrestler line of, "I just beat COVID's ass in 2 days. Now it's time to." And I'm like, "What? No, dude, you should be isolating. Why are you here? 2 days. That's not the period. It doesn't matter if you tested negative on day 3. You shouldn't be here." In the Bianca voice, I was like, you don't go here. No, no. But any animosity distracted to the side by Adam Cole as that focus is then put on the best friends. And out Cassidy and Chum's run. A big old brawl fight breaks out, only for Britt Baker to even the odds out for a beat down. I saw quite a few people online just like, "Oh, Britt Baker's joined the Elite." It's like, no. This is them more just establishing the existing relationship, maybe pushing the power couple thing to make you think Adam Cole has a really strong chance of beating Paige. For me, that would be a very smart thing to do. I feel like a lot of people would, but because Baker's already champion, the amount of people that were very likely by the fact that, oh, we're surely going to crown Cole as champion because he got that power couple dynamic. But it's a good way just to trick people because surely Paige is holding it for ages, and he's got to convince people that he's actually going to lose. For me, the worst title defenses of one, like for me, Christian against Omega, all the way back at All Out, I was like, and I never believed was going to win. Even when they did their best, the whole Impact thing. So that's why I never went too high on my own like personal star rating for it. But the power couple.
I mean, there's also the part where that match was only just great. Like it wasn't like some match of the year thing. It was great though. But I do get what you mean. Absolutely.
Actually, yeah, that's the point.
Reason why he got that's the reason why he got the win. In the first match between Omega, because they had to get him hot because no one to get you to at least halfway, believe is even the chance. So I thought that program was pretty good, but back to Cole. I've seen enough with the power couples in pro wrestling. Like I kind of don't care. I gotta say, like I don't know if it's a thing where like historically it actually does a good business. If so, fine, I'll eat it. But like I don't, from Seth and Becky to Miz and Maurice to Daniel Bryan and Brie to Nikki and John Cena to Triple H and Hunter. Like I don't give a fuck. I just don't. I'm sorry. Like
for me, only one of those was good. That says a lot.
I'm sure there's a way to do it well to where like you feel like all 4 members have agency, but like ultimately it feels like mostly like the men are like just finding a way to like get their women's shots on the card. And it's like Britt Baker is the world champion. Like I think she already fought Statlander, if I'm not mistaken, and beat her.
Last year I think. Well, obviously last year when he just started 2022.
Yeah. So like if there's something they can dig in to pull up that or whatever else, cool. But it's like I watched Mixed Match Challenge or the Mixed Match Challenge the first season or whatever else, and it's like once like the novelty wears off pretty soon, and obviously it's a different company and everything, but like if I wanted to see like mixed tags, like I kind of want to see it like to where like there can be like intergender matchups as opposed to like once someone tags, everyone has to get the fuck out, like clean the slate, move on. It's time to otherwise you just feel like okay, this is just a contrivancy or whatever. But I'm sure people will like it more than I will. I'm just always down on this kind of stuff. But because quite frankly, I'd rather see singles matches between Stat and Britt and Orange Cassidy and Cole than them doing this. That's kind of how it goes.
For me, it was Lucha Underground that eternally convinced me, and so I say eternally, it's been since then to now still, that
Mm-hmm.
intergender wrestling where they're not treated as like the different sexes that need to be separated in competition. They are the same, so and they are treated the same. Because I remember at the time there was that big conversation. What do you mean? How can like a much smaller woman be taken seriously? It's like, well, how can Rey Mysterio be taken seriously? Like it's absolutely no different. He still showed that same
Right.
amount of heart and desire to get that win, and in wrestling, that's perfectly fine. That's enough. CM Punk
Right.
versus Wardlow, like, what's the difference there, really?
Right. And I will give AEW this. Like that Shaq and Jay Cargill versus Red Velvet and Cody match was damn fun. So, I don't think they're gonna pull out that kind of stuff and smoke and mirrors for this match, but if they can and if they're able to do it, if they succeed, then I'll gladly come back and eat crow on it. But I'm just me in general, like intergender tag matches, eh.
I think I think I'm expecting like a bit of fun, nothing much further than that. But also, like for me, as long as this is like just setting up that on television these two are a couple, that doesn't mean you're going to see them on TV every single week, like together. For me, that's quite a good way to do it. You establish the fact, but then you don't beat it over the head. You kind of like, we've established it. Now they can go back to their friends, but you know that it's a thing. You know that the other person could run out to save the other person, and separating them on TV at least is quite a good way to do that. Like you establish they're a couple, but then you surround them with the same people that you always see, meaning that you can burn out their interruptions, and then you're not ready for their other half to actually come in as the final one. It's like, yeah, it's stuff like that you can set up in a situation like this. And for me, AEW are masters of, not masters, they use the technique where they'll set something up, but that doesn't mean they're immediately going to follow on after it. It's not WWE. WWE, with the technique of Chekhov's gun, show you the gun and immediately fire it. It goes off, it smashes a window. Like immediately. Well, that there's no bullet in there now. That's that tension gone. But with AEW, they will show you the gun. Like Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. They showed you the gun, and then they put that away in the drawer, and it's there. You know they've got Omega Danielson there in the drawer, but it's out of sight for now. Like just let it simmer, just let it bubble. You're going to eventually get it, but now's not the time. Now's not the time. For me, that's what Omega Danielson was. It was just that was hype for a proper Omega Danielson match. It wasn't the Omega Danielson match. They hardly went into much of their locker at all for that match. It's like the first third of a match stretched over 30 minutes. It's still amazing, but it's still essentially a Chekhov's gun thing. And because I've seen AEW do that, I feel a lot more forgiving for things like this where they're setting something up, because I go into it not expecting there to be an immediate payoff or an immediate kind of follow up to it. It's like, oh no, you're just establishing this as part of your world. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. The match itself will be a bit of fun. Obviously, it's an Orange Cassidy match. You're not going to get a super serious thing in a mixed tag Orange Cassidy match. But I am totally with you that, for me, after watching Lucha Underground, for me, there's no going back. Just because I saw how good it can be, and just have those restraints on it, it's always a negative to me.
Yeah, it's not even just like Lucha Underground and, like the American Indies where they do intergender, like, Black Label Pro, where you can go watch Jordan Grace versus Ethan Page a couple years ago, right? Like, one of my first
Ruby
matches
Soho Ruby Soho faced Josh Alexander this week.
Right. And I think Josh Alexander said, like, it's one of his proudest matches ever. But like you go to Japan and look at some of the women in like the produced shows, like when Asuka was still named Kana in Japan, and like she was more or less kind of blackballed by the Joshi scene in general, and so she had to put on her own produced shows, and she would have like her and like Marufuji from Noah versus like Meiko Satomura and Minoru Suzuki, and Minoru Suzuki would go at it. Right, like, or even this year, like in Seedling, like you have Nanae Takahashi with their tag team partner Roy Matsumoto versus you and not Minoru Suzuki, but Masato Tanaka. And Tanaka's like out there, and they're selling like crazy for Tanaka, and Tanaka's still very good. And like it was a really good match. It's like if you're, when I say I'm not into intergender, it's not because of the man on woman violence. Like I don't care. Like it's all like they're all fake, really hitting each other to have fake fights. I don't care. That's fine. It's the part where like in America on major television, like they do the thing where you tag in, gotta get the fuck out. And I kind of find it to be just a contrivance. Like they're all pro athletes. Let them go out there and beat the hell out of each other. All of them. All four of them, let them beat the hell out of each other. I don't care.
Yeah, that's exactly my. And after having been exposed to what it can be like, it's one of those ones where
it's so much better.
Yeah. It's once you experience what it could be like, and then you watch what it's like on American TV. It's like like I understand how in the past this could be a thing that was they're like a TV station saying absolutely not type of thing, but it's not that era anymore. And I feel like this is 100% the kind of thing that you can do on TV now. It's weird. It's the reasons not to do it feel archaic whenever I hear them. It's just, I think for me it really is just because I've seen how it works, and a lot of the time there's arguments from people who clearly just watch it, and that's the thing that rips the band-aid off and can make your decision then. If you still don't like it after watching it, that's the difference for me, rather than immediately shutting down to the thought of it. It's like, well, no, it's a performance, so it's it's choreographed ballet fighting. Like it's really not the same as some of the things out there. But yeah, this will be a fun, silly match regardless. A great example with the Shaq match, where they brought out all of the guns just to give you a really fun, chaotic fight, Brodie thing.
And hopefully they can give us something like that, because you know, obviously you mentioned the Cassidy part of it. Like, it's not going to be some super serious heated match. Like, they just first off, it's not going to be super heated because like they didn't come up with this match until literally last night, right? Like, so whenever they do it, it's not going to be like some huge build like it's going towards pay-per-view or anything. Like, it's going to be like something to do to build up for like a week or two and then do it. Like, I don't even know it was announced for next week, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So like immediate payoff.
Like, how heated could it possibly be?
Which is why I see that and I go, yeah, it's like a fun ending to the Orange Cassidy thing. So they can maybe you give Britt Baker an opponent and you send Adam Cole off towards Hangman Page. Like, it all works in a nice neat little bow. In my head, I'm like, and this is where you do a nice little transition, but nice neat little bow and Wardlow. I haven't really got anything. So, Wardlow versus CM Punk. I will just say, before this, there was an awesome Wardlow promo package that played with the classical music over the background. Really, really good. Wardlow going over huge as his destruction of Punk helps make him look like an absolute beast. So, the thing that really helped me with this is me in my 2005 starting to watch Naivety. I have watched that Bret Hart Diesel match, but obviously it's years down the line. Yeah. I might even watch it for the first time on the network, which shows like 20 years after the fact kind of thing. But it's one of those matches where I watched it, but I wouldn't remember any spots from it. So it wasn't until someone shared it on Twitter I was like, oh yeah, CM Punk's done it again, where he's just flat out done an entire sequence from a Bret Hart match.
So someone actually did point that out. Yeah, because to me it just seemed obvious. Because like, I mean, he's been doing a lot of Bret Hart stuff. He's been wearing the Bret Hart gear and whatever else. So like, once I saw that, I was like, or once I saw what was going on, I was like, oh, he's doing the Bret 95 Survivor Series thing. Because like, I've only seen that match twice ever. Like, I watched it live, and then I watched it. I don't know. Rich really gets into a kick of watching like 90s wrestling, WCW or WWF. So like, he turned it on one time, and I told him like, I hate that match, and I watched. I was like, yeah, still not feeling this match. It was better than I remember it being, but I still was like, it was way too one-sided for a dude just to roll him up at the very end of the match after you like completely dominated him and like, oh, you got suckered. Like, oh, whatever, man. Like, I'm getting Bret and Sean, so whatever.
I did like the twist on this one of the way just like MJF is the sole reason for this match ending the way it did. Wardlow, he didn't want to continue. He tried to pin the man multiple times. He's like, right, I'm done here. And for me, the thing that kind of adds to it as well was going into it beforehand, where Sean Spears was constantly telling him, no, go for the pin, stop beating him up. And this is the flip reverse of that, where it's like, no, you don't pin him, you keep going. MJF wanted CM Punk broken. He wasn't there for Wardlow to win. he was there, because in my head as well, it's painting MJF as he wants to be the guy to give CM Punk his first loss.
Because he's an asshole. Yep.
Yeah. Therefore, Wardlow can't do it, and it's all building to the massive turn by Wardlow. But this match, it was just a complete destruction by Wardlow, and because MJF wouldn't let him pin him, that's the reason he lost. And I because it makes Wardlow seem like an absolute beast. And it also teases the MJF thing, and Punk obviously the wily vet as well. Obviously, you have to put to the side. I don't know if it's the same with the vet one, where it's kind of like, you won with that when you were pretty much dead. Like it's, I have to put aside some, but like believability for me to for this to work, which I can do that. For me, like it's fine. I like the overall story they're telling though. So I think that's why it sits relatively well with me. I like everything they're building, even if I have to, in my head, I have to put. I very obviously feel like I'm having to put something to the side to believe Punk could do that. When you're also telling me how destructive Wardlow is, like,
right,
I have to put something to the side. But I still like every story they're telling here. Everything coming off of it is awesome. With the teasing of Wardlow and the build for MJF, CM Punk as well. Later on in the show, MJF came out and he did the whole tease of, I'm going to give you the match that you all want. I'm so angered by this, I'm going to give you the match. Next week is going to be it. CM Punk versus Shawn Spears. It's just, the entire time, like, I knew he was going to say that the entire time, but I was still like, oh, maybe he doesn't. Like, oh, you got me, even though I totally still knew you were going to do that. But yeah, so I was watching this having absolutely no idea for like a frame of reference. I was just like, they're putting Wardlow over huge, that's great. And trying to find a way to keep CM Punk's undefeated run going, as well as Wardlow being that beast. And it turns out they're completely redoing an angle from the 90s. And I had no idea. But so
at least this wasn't the main event of a Big Four pay-per-view, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give them that.
They ended the show on that.
That was the main event of Survivor Series 95.
Oh, right. Oh, so it's at the end of the show on Brett getting absolutely destroyed, and then he just wins to the schoolboy. It's interesting because it leaves you with an interesting feeling. You don't really feel like, hey, my babyface guy. You're not really cheering like that. You're more like, oh, that's.
Another part about it is like back to that match is like, if I remember correctly, Brett beat him, and then like. That starts the heel turn for Diesel to get to the match with Undertaker, right? Like he snaps on Brett and he power bombs him through the announce table afterwards. He's so mad that he got beat with a small package after he beat the hell out of Brett for like 85% of the match. So yeah, it had legs to it, and I see the reason why they did it. It's just like as a kid, I was a dumb mark, so I really liked Diesel. I thought he was really Big Daddy cool. I really thought the dude was fucking cool, right? And like I loved Brett, but I was like, it's like okay, so I don't know what's gonna happen here. I like both of them, and then Brett won. I was like, I thought that sucked. I was a kid. I was like, I thought that sucked.
I was trying to think what any stupid reactions I had, but I didn't start watching wrestling until I was 12, 13, so there's not a lot of them. If I'm honest, there's really not a lot of stupid moments, I guess. I didn't like it when it was just a Juice and Domino match and one of them started bleeding from the mouth, and 12-year-old me had none of that. I was like, oh, no, I did not like the pale guy getting the blood down his mouth. That was a complete nope. But I don't think I've had like a stupid kayfabe moment. Because I started watching around the time Batista had to give away his title because he was injured. Like the whole thing of Mark Henry shaking the cage for like 15 minutes because he can't open the cage door. That whole angle. And I did definitely buy, because they put plants in the crowd to cry, so they get it on camera. It's like, oh no, he's got to give up his title. Oh no. And as a young kid, I was like, oh man, they really do like, because I joined like right after, I think Batista, I must have watched like one episode with Batista, then he was gone. And so
Okay.
I had no frame of context. When I saw people adoring him, I was like, oh wow, he must have been like they really cared for him. He must have been a really great guy. Can't wait to see him when he's back, type of thing. Obviously, years later, when I went onto the internet to find out why Jeff Hardy wasn't on WrestleMania 24, my whole world was shattered. It's like, what do you mean they used plants? Oh no, this is horrible. Anyway. Moving on to a similar kind of framing of match in Hobbs versus Dante Martin. It's Big Boy destroys the smaller one, and then the smaller one, Alpha Distraction, gets the win. I did like, because I have to say he's in the match first, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Dante Martin. I did like that they were pelting at each other from the belt. The opening I thought was really white hot. Also, because I watched this on Fight, I got a lot of the downtime, and I will say quite often on Fight, there's a lot of headlocks. There's a lot of oh, I'm hurt whilst on the outside, slowly crawling. CM Punk, he did a lot of slow walk crawling back to the ring on Fight. Awesome start though, with both lads just charging at each other from for some ringside chaos. Parking at the House of Hobbs as he grounded Martin with an awesome spinebuster, which then kind of signalled the rest of most of the match. Dante finding himself having to counter and fight back from under against the Big Boy. Hobbs slowing it down for a decent amount of time, but got cocky after countering Martin's now signature backwards ball flip escape off the second rope. Still on top, but Dante, like, he had a foot in the match. When Ricky Starks decided to get up on the apron and ruin everything, only for... I don't know whether to use the phrase. The phrase I'm kind of like, I've seen AEW do this before. The phrase I'm using is replacement black person. Because they've done it again. Brandy Rhodes was out. Oh, we need to get another black athlete in to replace Brandy. We can't have Leo. Oh, let's get Jay Lethal in. What? No, you don't have to do it like that. Jay Lethal, for some reason, is there. And that's the only reason I could think of in my head. It's like, well, why is it Jay Lethal? Is that it? Is that the only reason? Just to yank him off the ropes. Hobbs distracted. And, yeah, there we go. It gets the win. Yeah, what do you make of this match? What do you make of the, for some reason, Jay Lethal interference?
I like this match more than I like the opener. I thought it was a lot more competitive between back and forth between Hobbs and Martin. I thought that going into it that Martin was going to win. Obviously, this is a rematch of a match they have. I think the fall of last year. So it was a show the progression of in progress of Dante Martin. Especially after we haven't seen him for a few weeks. So they had a match. I liked their back and forth. I really liked. I think they have pretty good chemistry. I feel like there's a better match for them in the future, like at a bigger spot in like a year or two, as they get better and gain more experience. But I thought they did really well together. It wasn't some super great match or anything, but I thought it was a good match. As you mentioned, I didn't even think about the Jay Lethal thing or why he's there. I just like, oh, Leo Rush isn't here, so he's like filling in for Leo Rush. I didn't even think about the why is he, but like now that you mentioned, it's like, yeah, that kind of is one of those things that they do in AEW. Distraction finish, he's going to win with the I think he calls it a nosedive, his double jump moonsault triangle moonsault. So cool finish, got out of there. Lethal, Lethal has a whole bunch of stuff with him. Like, if it was my company, I wouldn't have him on TV. But that match he had with Guevara was one of the best matches in AEW last year. So, they're going to give him a shot at their match like that. So, him and Dante Martin potentially in a match against Starks and Hobbs. I will say this: after the match on Battle of the Belts, given what Lethal did, I think that Ricky Starks is gonna have to bring it. Like that match he had with Seidel, like Seidel outclassed him. After he broke his back, or broke his neck, or broke something in his back, he hasn't wrestled that much. So this is a big task for him, like bigger than he's had in a while. Like to have a big match with like two guys like Lethal and like Dante with Hobbs. So should be a fun match.
And but after that, we then got immediately jumping forward. I was like, I have no additional notes for this. It's like, the future stuff James pretty much hit on as well. Like it's this is kind of like setting up another future kind of showcase for Hobbs and Martin. another stage where they get like a proper finish eventually. And because I think the last one was like early Rampage kind of era where they got their match.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So it's good to see them here, and then obviously they will progress in the future. Inner Circle were backstage with teleporting Tony, who he got around tonight. Jericho happy that he's happy because PWI have named the Inner Circle the faction of the year for some reason, but they have, hyping up his man Sammy for tonight's main event title defense when Eddie Kingston, the man that can make everything work, just wants to beat up Garcia. I like that's his motivation here. His entire motivation is he wants to beat the crap out of Garcia, and other people keep stopping him from beating the crap out of Garcia, and it's really getting on his nerves because all he wants to do is beat up Garcia. But other people, and Jericho's in his face, getting in his way, and all he wants to do is beat up Garcia, and he just can't do it. First it was 2.0 getting in the way, now it's Jericho as well taking the limelight, which paid off in the main event as well. And Eddie Kingston trying to cause inner rifts, saying that Jericho's the reason Santana and Ortiz aren't the tag team champions, which obviously nerves them up a bit. But we're obviously building to Kingston versus Jericho, but I do like how Eddie Kingston's motivation hasn't shifted from the one time where he was in his happy place just eating a cake in catering to now he just wants to beat up Garcia. And eventually he's going to get to do it. It's just things keep getting in the way. And I won't be surprised if it is like Kingston Jericho, maybe if they can stretch this out to Revolution. Don't know if that's a little bit too long of a period. Wait, is Revolution it's middle of February, isn't it?
I want to say it's the beginning of March.
Oh, it's the beginning of March. Actually, I have the power of the internet. I can just Google it.
I'm looking it up right now too, so you might be hearing a lot of clicking and clacking listeners to this podcast or on YouTube. Yeah, Revolution is 6th of March. 6th.
Yeah, 6th of March,
yep.
Yeah.
Beat you to it.
I forgot that Google says it in my time as well, in my thing as well. Yeah, the date order correct. Day, month, year. That's how you do it. America. That's it. All of my files are in the Japanese order of year, month, day. It's easiest.
Gotcha. So you saw it and you were like, wait a second, it's going to happen in June? It happens to me so often trying to figure out dates for stuff. At least at the beginning, watching Japanese wrestling, it definitely did to me. I was like, wait a second, wait, what?
The thing that confuses me the most, especially with Japanese wrestling, is I think they're better now, but the websites don't always adjust for daylight savings. Because I'm assuming in Japan they either don't do it or they do it at different points. So
they don't have it. They don't have it in Japan.
They don't have it at all. Okay, that makes sense. So when there's been like a shift, you have to then do an additional figuring out just because it's. And originally they didn't even have the British time, the other times on there. Sometimes they have the American one. That's like the main other audience. So figuring out a British time from the Japanese time, and then having to account for the fact that they've not included daylight savings. Like, okay, when was daylight savings in America? I need to figure this out. Oh, it was New Japan World in the early years was sure an experience. Just trying to figure all of that out. Back when you needed the Google Translate automatic thing in the browser to actually function the website. The days. The days. Then I can remember there was I can't remember which columnist it was. When New Japan blew up and it got all that attention, I remember there was a columnist at Laws of Pain who it might have been Tito, I can't remember who it was. But the entire point was trying to navigate the website, and it's like, what is this? And I'm just like, compared to what I had to deal with, this feels so incredibly simple because it's in English.
Right.
it's just there. Right. It feels.
Especially because Tito don't like anything too. That's
I was just kind of like, is this him? Is this Tito being Tito, or is it just because I experienced such a difficult website to operate as an English person that this to me feels so incredibly easy? That doesn't mean. I'm just like I've been playing on expert difficulty mode. So me playing on hard is like, oh no, this is piss easy. Like, no, I've been playing on the hardest difficulty. It's not actually easy. Anyway, after that segment, we then got a run of stuff, little backstage things. We got the announcement of the match of Shawn Spears versus CM Punk via MJF. We then get another match put together when the Elite were backstage when he got Britt Baker to officially walk to Adam Cole and set our tag team match for next week. After that, AEW champion Hangman Page. A new year, the records have been reset, and the champion needs a new challenger. In my head, it's just like, well, I need a new challenger. Who's it going to be? And I'm just like, I mean, this company has rankings. You immediately could just look at the rankings and there's your challenger. It's not like other promotions. It's right there. That said, this was all building up to Lance Archer returning. But Dan Lambert, I've heard from some people that, especially people with like a lot of American friends, that don't like Dan Lambert, and I don't get it because I think Dan Lambert is fantastic at what he does.
Same here. Look. I know he's here to piss off like the hardest of hardcore fans, and I think regardless, if you think that dude can't deliver lines or is an eloquent talker or like says sharp stuff, you're wrong. He does. If you don't like the subject of the stuff he's talking about, like, well, that was what his heat is. Like, he's making fun of the non-quote-unquote athlete. Like, he's basically a fill-in and proxy for Jim Cornette. I'm sure we talked about this a number of times over the last year or whatever else. But, like, I enjoy it. The only thing I haven't really enjoyed for him was, like, the segment with Brandy because, like, that is just problematic. I'm not, like, I don't like calling women strippers or saying your voice sounds like a stripper name or you're saying that her name sounds like a stripper name. And then I also didn't like Brandy calling herself a black bitch. So, like, whatever. Like, so, but outside of that little moment right there, like, I feel like his hit rate is pretty good, considered the rest of the stuff that's on AEW. Like, he gets heat with the crowds. He gets crazy. Like, who gets better more heat than him besides MJF?
Yeah.
It might be him.
Yeah. I think those are the only two that get reactions like that. And if it's the only person who gets loud reactions which can contain boos are Cody, but that's more like the John Cena type thing. Just in terms of
which is also like that sucks to watch.
But he's just so damn good, and I've heard people like how can you like him when he says things like that? But no, that's the entire point. Like, he's playing a character on television. He's a really like, you don't watch Walking Dead going, I disagree with all the points that Negan is saying here. He's just like, no, like, no. You don't like Jeffrey Dean Morgan because you agree with the points Negan says. No, he's playing a character. He plays the villain really, really well, and I feel like that's exactly what Dan Lambert does here. He plays the villain so incredibly well, and he knows just how close to the line to get in terms of pissing off fans, and what exact things to go after as well. As in, I wouldn't be surprised if backstage, when Dan Lambert's been pitching what the gimmick essentially is, he's even used the phrase walking Facebook profile, which is just an amazing. As soon as Paige said that, I was like, that is brilliant. But because that just screams what the gimmick really is. He's just scrolling through social media, finding the baddest of bad faith takes, and making that his character because they know it will piss off the audience. It's like MJF saying, I really like MJF's gimmick it's like, no, I'm really good. And AEW sucks. You guys all suck. So I am going to go to WWE. And because he knows it's going to piss off the fans just to say, oh no, I am going to go. Like, trust me, in like 4 years when my contract is up, you're going to have to pay me so much money to keep me because I am leaving for the other place. It's like, such a good gimmick. It works so damn well. You could even genuinely Brian Pillman them in a couple of years if he changes his mind, but still,
it works. Yeah. It works for the crowd. I don't know why, because I'm just like, if y'all hate him like y'all claim y'all do, and he gets heat like that, and he says he's gonna leave WWE, I'd be like, if me personally, when I was a kid, and someone said I'm going to leave and go to WCW, or I'm going to leave and go to WF, I'd be like, and I wasn't watching the other one, I'd be like, fine, leave. Or better yet, say like, I'm leaving, I'm going to ECW before I started watching ECW. I'd be like, fine, leave. I don't give a fuck. But if they're like, boo, you're going to WWE, it's like, and CM Punk had the great line, if you want to go over there and do that, go for it. I'll still be here by the time you get fired.
I do love watching like the kid, especially with the AW audience growing. You're seeing so many more children in the audience as well. I just love like the genuine reactions. Like, my favourite one from my family, we went to see Jack and the Beanstalk at the theatre, and there was one part where you won't know them, but you're muted, so I can't hear what you're saying.
They made a movie about Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh no! It's
recently.
No, as in when I was a kid. When I say the theatre, I mean like actors on a stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Acting. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, so we we went to see that as kids. It might have been like, I think, well, probably was a pantomime, and the two kind of like kids comedy actors called the Chuckle Brothers. They were on the show, and they did a bit where they would get out a cream pie. He's like, who wants a pie? And my brother had the most genuine reaction of, oh, I'd really like one. They're delicious. I really would like one. Obviously, they're just going to put whichever kid is going to splat it in the face. But the most genuine reaction from my brother they could ever seen at a show. The sheer amount that he wanted to. It's like, did anyone want a cake? It's like, oh, I want a cake. It's like, and me there as like, I'm 2 years older than him. I know what this is. I've seen this rodeo before. Genuine excitement. Absolutely no idea. It's just like, just seeing that genuine excitement on kids' faces at shows. Oh, it's great. I love it. My brother was an idiot. he didn't get the cake. Anyway, Lance Archer turned up, just to bring back from the tangent. Lance Archer turns up, hits an amazing blackout onto the chairs with an incredible final statement. And yes, this is probably very likely building to a Lance Archer championship match. That's what I'm looking for. And I did like as well when he came to the ring, he's charging for Lambert. And Lambert's absolutely petrified by the man. An amazing way to put over how dangerous he is. But he's shouting at him, shouting, "You're in the ring with the world champion. Don't forget you're in the world. What would Jake do? What would Jake do?" And that's when he goes to him. He's like, whether he intended to do that the entire time or not, it's like, oh yeah, I am in here with the world champion. I probably should beat him up and get a title match. That's more valuable than beating up Lambert. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if he says that in his interview next week, just to kind of give a bit more layers to the villain, rather than, lol, I got you, didn't I? You thought I was going to take Lambert. It's like, no, I've realised in that moment, it's probably wiser for my career if I beat you up. Nothing personal. That type of thing. But yeah. A decent return, if not like the most amazing hype thing in the world. But it set up future good things, which can say a lot for this show. It set up future good. I'm just happy
he's back after what happened to his neck.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the way he wrestles as well. He's a big guy that likes to fly. And to get a kind of injury like that, obviously we're not seeing him do like a proper wrestle yet. We don't know if he's adapted his style, which we see quite a lot with wrestlers. Obviously, as they pick up injuries over the course of their career, they will adapt their style a bit. Like Sami Zayn, where he doesn't do the crazy stuff that he used to do anymore. I was talking on Tuesday, where I was doing like the state of AEW and WWE review, and I was just like, yeah, he's like he's kind of gone Mick Foley in a way. Like he's come up with all these different ways to kind of limit the crazy the crazy wrestling stuff. It's like, I could go full character here and make loads of money whilst not go crazy in the bump card. Like everyone said for years, Orange Cassidy, he's got this wrestling business sussed. Like, he takes so few bumps and gets maximum reaction. Like, he's got this figured out. Good on him. But yeah, Lance Archer, it can be a really, really good match. And it's just a shame that the last time we saw him was when he got his injury and he lost in the Eliminator tournament. So it's not a mass amount of hype given the last time we saw him he lost, but they can heat him back up. We can like a couple of weeks for this to be like a February title match. I think that works.
Yeah, call up Marco, bring him back. Need another squash match. Need another one.
Oh yes, it was so good. Because there was talk that
the greatest squash matches ever.
Because his contract's probably coming up this year, and there was talk of they probably won't renew it. And I was like, but this is the exact reason that you at least feature him. Just have him get absolutely destroyed by the big boy. Oh, that was great. Anyway, to teleporting Tony, because as we get more backstage and video stuff with Arn, his son, and his other son Lee Johnson, Tully interrupting to adhere to their past and try to recruit the Andersons, get their name under the Pinnacle banner. Match set up between Brock and Johnson to take on FTR. I was like, yeah, that's just the perfect setup to give FTR a win. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, don't care about the match at all.
Yeah, perfectly fine. I'm not expecting much. It's fine.
The match could be good. Just let Arn and Tully just sit there in their corners and not interact.
Oh, they're getting
how many times they interacted in matches already in AEW in the last since Tully came around? I feel like it's been like 2 or 3 or 4, and it never really goes anywhere. It's just like, hey, remember this thing from 40 years ago?
I'm like, no, I'm under 30. No, I don't.
It is also like,
Yeah.
Like the last one I remember was the one when it was a trios match and it was FTR. Or actually, it was a quattros match. It was FTR and Andrade and not MJF, maybe an Alistair or
I think it was Alice.
Malakai.
I think it was. I think it was Malakai. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was against like it was against Cody and Cody and Pac and
Cody.
I think the Lucha Bros.
Mm. Yeah, it's the big multi-man tag thing.
Yeah, and they ended up in the ring or whatever else after everybody took dives to the floor and the crowd's popping for them and everything. And then like Andrade's dude, I forgot, like the bookkeeper, I forgot his name or whatever else. Like he gets into the ring and they basically like hit moves on them to get out of it. And I was like, all right, so y'all really have nothing for Arn and Tully as far as a physical interaction. Like never do it again. And then lo and behold, like 2 months later, they're already back at it again. Or 3 months, 2.5 months later, whatever.
You gotta get in that 50+. Just that key television demo. You gotta get it in. Which is what makes me laugh about NXT. What makes me laugh about NXT the most is now that the data is coming through. Thank you, Brandon Thurston, for the amazing collection of data. But yeah, the NXT audience, even though they're doing everything to aim at that younger audience. When I say everything, I don't even know if they know really what they want the identity of that show to be. But they're trying to get the younger audience, but the average viewership is getting higher, which is crazy.
Yeah, the median, like Black and Gold at the end, it was like in the mid to high 50s, and now 2.0's median average viewer age is, median viewer age is like 62, 63. Sometimes you'll see 64, and it's like, okay, you say you knew better than Triple H and whoever else is helping them put the show together. We'll see over time. We'll see how this goes. Like you're putting AJ Styles on television, and then your demo is doing like the shits. So, all right.
Well, the numbers did come out for AEW before we went live, and I think they got. Oh yeah, it was 969,000 was the number. Obviously retweeted with a noise because it's 69, but it was a. For me, that's good for me because I was like, if it's near 1 million or whatever, like if it's below, if you're getting towards 800, 700,000, I'm like, oh, that's an unfortunate dip, but it's pretty much at 1 million. It's like just shy of it. And I'm like, you know what, that's fine. If like 1 million is the average, if we have ups and downs around that number, then that's actually more than decent.
If I had told you 3 years ago that a card that looked like Matt Hardy versus Penta, Daniel Garcia versus Sammy Guevara, let's see, CM Punk versus Wardlow, who else? What else on this card? Like, and I told you that it was gonna almost get 1 million viewers, you'd have been like, hell no, like no, who will watch that? Yeah, like look, Dante Martin versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Like 3 years ago, you'd be like, who are these people? The Acclaim versus Bear Country. Really? Close to 1 million? Serena Deeb versus Hikaru Shida? This card did almost 1 million viewers? Like, I don't know how you call this anything other than a success.
Yeah, that's exactly. Especially when the TV broadcast station themselves were like, 500,000 would be happy. It's like, well, be happy. Double that, yeah. And hi, Mark in the chat. How are you doing? But yeah, so moving on to Hikaru Shida versus Serena Deeb. We touched on this a little bit right back at the start, but. Deeb charging out, chopping down the knee. I called this after this match finished. I hit my fatigue point, but yeah, attacking, beating down Shida, destroying that knee, and then as the match starts, it's just a complete assault on it. Shida completely unable to fight out, and Serena just wrenched back on the thing as the ref called for the bell. After the match, I did like the touch that Shida was pissed the ref didn't let her continue to fight. It was just a little touch, as was like, why did you stop that? I'm really pissed off about this. Before Deeb rained down and broke a kendo stick as she continually smashed it down on Shida's knee. And TJ and Sky Blue, I guess, are her friends because they came down, assisted her. I guess it's to set up Sky Blue versus Serena Deeb. As in, yeah. Somebody was saying, it's like, Sky Blue's going to all innocently run down and then get completely folded up, destroyed and broken. Poor girl. Like the friend set up for future tags. It was like, yeah. Poor Sky Blue. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Have you got anything else to add, or?
Yeah, like the reason why I hit my fatigue point was like I saw the first 2 matches, and like as you mentioned, similar story. The first one was disappointing, and I got to this match, and like they have good matches. Like this was the 4th match. The 3 previous ones were good or very good. So I was ready to like kind of sink my teeth in, like going into like the 9 o'clock or the second hour of the show, and then like the fact that the attack on the outside. Before the match, even the bell even rang, and then like how quickly the match ended, I was like, it kind of deflated me, and I was like, oh, okay, let's consider this main event at least. But yeah, like maybe it's not over, but I feel like this is a good place to close the chapter on their potential long-term rivalry. Like to say that Deeb won here, Sheeta won each time she won. It was by not necessarily the cleanest thing as a babyface. And Dee basically hurt her, and now she's moving up the card, and they'll come back to it eventually. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't think they need a 5th one like in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, totally. After this, Jungle Express wants challengers when Silver and Reynolds let us know not only are they top 5 hunks, they're also ranked in the top 5. A title match set up for Rampage. I did like how if you watch Jungle Boy, he's just trying not to laugh. Especially with it was when Christian did his jab. I was like, oh, are you looking for teams ranked in the top 5? And Christian just like, yeah. Could you let us know if you find any? To which immediately their reaction was, oh yeah, we will. Oh wait, no, we're top 5. That's what we are. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Silver and Reynolds. Silver's a treasure.
Yes.
Yes. Just give me as much as that man as possible. After that was the Matt Hardy versus Penta El Miedo match, which we talked about right at the start. The debut of Brody King. The large tattooed male arrived. Then it was Statlander backstage with Red Velvet and Layla Hirsch. The positive, we got a backstage women's interview without a surprise attack. That's the positive. Finally, it's happened. It can happen.
Do you have a second positive?
No. Aside from that,
okay.
I was kind of like, I was just like, I already reached my fatigue point. I was just kind of like, there's so many little segments that I don't think need to be in this show, but you're trying to create a reason for the match on Rampage to exist. There isn't one, really. This is, it's the way the lines were delivered. It was just kind of like. I was watching the Wrestle Talk review earlier, and someone said that their wife walked in and was watching the later half of this show with them. And immediately, the wife's reaction was, oh, well, it's good to see the acting in AEW is just as bad as WWE. It's just like, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, there is a subplot going on with Hirsch and Statlander. They had a match on TV recently, and like I can't remember if it was Dynamite or Rampage, but they had a match, and it was about how like they had a falling out, how they were, they were kind of fraying or whatever, their friendship or respect for each other or whatever else. And I think Stat won and then stuck her hand out to Layla. Layla didn't shake the hand. So I mean, there's something there, but it's not much. And then once you put out the part where like Layla can work. Layla can carry people way bigger than her and all that kind of stuff, and she, and she's a good wrestler, but like as far as acting and charisma, that's not really her thing. She like the preamble and all that kind of stuff, and laying the groundwork. Like like she's not TV ready in my opinion to like deliver lines or whatever else, and that showed in that moment. And then Statlander wasn't much better than her, so. It was rough. It was short, but it was still rough.
Yeah, for me, this is why Dark and Elevation exists, to kind of get those reps in for this kind of segment, so that it's not quite as stilted. And I've in the past I've praised AEW for not doing the WWE thing of, well, this is how wrestlers are presented, therefore everybody has to be able to do these things. Even it's like Ricochet. Why have you got Ricochet trying to jab like he's Cena? Like, just no, just absolutely not. It's a similar thing, kind of like, in these backstage segments, wrestlers will deliver these lines and do these things. Therefore, everyone needs to do them. It's like, surely Layla Hirsch doesn't need to. Like, that's not why that's not the attraction of Layla Hirsch. I mean, it can be, but this segment screamed like Dark or Elevation. I don't know why it's on the show itself. It's a weird one, really.
It was one of those things. Another thing is like, some of this stuff can be pre-taped.
Mm. Oh yeah, was it not a better take?
And if and if this and I just don't know why it wasn't. And if it was, and I'm just mistaken, that was the best version they got out of that. Really? Yikes.
Yeah. I will say at least it's you don't get any of the other weird stuff from like a WWE thing. Where at least for this one, it's the camera that everybody knows it's there. It's the interviewer. It's that type of thing. There's all the beats are fine. There's no surprise attack. Hooray! That's an AEW trope, really, and that was kind of gone. In WWE, you get that. Plus, you get all the weird camera production thing around it because everything is like, we'll shoot this right now. Nothing is thought about or storyboarded or anything. It's just right. Let's do it right here, right now. And because they have the whole, well, is the camera there or not? WWE, for me, for their backstage segments, need more planning. In AEW, it's, well, we know the camera's there, therefore we can just immediately shoot. They don't need anything extra. They have to think about it with WWE purely because of their own production, their own world rule means the production has to think about it. It's just, you're putting a barrier in front of yourself for no reason. just acknowledge the camera. It's piss easy. Like, at the start of every single Elite video, they're always, especially Adam Cole, the kind of Ali's getting in as well, with whatever the name of the guy holding the camera is, who knows. I liked how Britt Baker also didn't know Brandon's name. Just like, who is the random person? But yeah, just at the start of every one of those, he was like, is it running? Are we good? Right, okay, go. For me, it's just a nice touch. Immediately just lets you know the situation of the room, and then into what they're trying to say. It doesn't doesn't ruin anything. Like, you know the context now, it's fine. Anyway, moving on to Bear Country versus the Acclaimed. The line, you've got no shot like Novak Djokovic, is a dangerous line to say to two big hairy bear boys who are about to beat the crap out of you. And Bear's on top before a quick ref distraction, a legal man snap, and caster elbow drop for the win. For me, like, there was a lot more to that match, and I'm like, but I didn't really care. I don't know how much of it was on Fight. I don't know if this match was relatively short on TV, like either side of an ad break. But for me, there was a very long portion of the match of Bear Country doing things, and then the Acclaim just snapped into the win.
I got none on this one.
All right. I mean, it's like I've literally got 2 sentences.
It was like a 6-minute match. Like, the Acclaim won, whatever. Whatever. Like, yeah. That was a dark match that was put on Dynamite.
Yeah, actually, yeah, especially after what we were just talking about, we felt like there was a backstage segment from Dark ended up on Dynamite. The match that followed was the same, which is weird. That said, the all happy and celebratory after the win, when the lights go down and we get the generally great visualization of Caster. I think they were both on the ramp actually, and it all goes dark. The lights fade out again on this show, but when they come back on, it's a bright white light with the snow coming down as it's Sting. But just that visual of the shadow of the Acclaimed on the ramp as you realise Sting's there, and I'm just like, God, that's such a great visual. It's them completely illuminated by Sting's lights. Darby Allin as well, with charging out of the ring with an amazing dive through the ropes, wielding the skateboard. He just doesn't hold back from, as CM Punk said, there's no point me ever doing a suicide dive ever again, because how could I ever do one as good as Darby Allin? Like, everyone should just retire the move. So good. JR putting over the sheer amount of teams stepping up in this segment as well. Which is, for me, this was, because I felt it at the end of the last episode, where Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are holding up the titles, and then all of the tag teams walk out to the ramp. I wasn't sure how much of that was to pad for time, given what happened to Phoenix, but they're all out there on the ramp, and then they start to show shots of people in the crowd. And then on the commentary, they were saying that, oh, it appears like all the eyes on the tag champs now. This week kind of added to that, especially when you got Brody King debuting, and all the different people stepping up to the champions. But also, it's my rule with WWE. If you don't always know what story they're telling, just listen to the commentators. That's the story they're at least trying to tell. Even if, well, like with the image in front of you, it's clearly not. The commentators tell you what they're trying to tell. And in this moment, JR just really, really strongly just saying, putting over the sheer amount of tag teams stepping up. And I'll be really surprised if there isn't going to be a tournament or something, or a casino battle royal, or just... They're really putting over lots and lots of teams and really fleshing out the division. And I'm just like, why would you... I know they put a lot of focus on the tag division, but you're really fleshing it out. there must be a reason for this. Is that
didn't the Lucha Bros get the tag title shot at for the title change by winning the tournament, the eliminated tournament for tag teams last year?
Oh, did they? Is that how they did it? I could search that.
I could have sworn it was something like that.
Eliminate. Oh, I've realised I've done the singles.
Yeah, so
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't always go exactly the same time of the year all the time, but and also people have been floating around, because of all the factions that are around. Like, they could be doing trios titles, and that's been floating around. So all this tag stuff could eventually turn into trio stuff because there's so many tag teams inside these factions.
Yeah, well, especially as Malakai Black as well. After Brody King thing, he was actively taunting them with a 3.
Right.
So, as in, Brody King is not it. There is another, right. Be it somebody already on the roster, be it somebody to come in or whatever. That's always the case. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, Sting and Darby Allin really sticking their claim. I just found it quite interesting that JR's focus after all of that was to hype up the amount of teams that are stepping up in AEW over the attack that we saw, or like selling the story, because JR's a very strong story guy. So for him to not set up the story, it's like, there must be something here then. Speaking of there's something being there, Pac, full gear, in freezing cold Newcastle. Like, here we go again. Pac just saying, here we go again. Alone and desolate. He's not angry. He appreciates the blessing. Now, if anything, his vision has never been so clear, as he's got the blindfold around him in his full gear. I'm just like, are we going to get a Daredevil type gimmick? Like, absolutely awesome kick-ass blind gimmick. It's like, I don't know if anyone can pull that off, as in, like, not something silly. Pac is it, surely. Surely Pac is it. He's the one guy where it wouldn't seem stupid and ridiculous. But also, maybe don't do a blind gimmick. You don't have to do that either. That is on the table. You don't have to do it. This can just be a bit to build. Or he is the third guy in the stable. That can also work as well. But I don't know which ways.
I don't know what it means. I don't know. We'll see. Like, Pac is one of those things where, like, he's almost like an attraction in a way because of his travel situation. So, whatever's next for him, I'm interested to see, because, like, he's one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW.
Oh, he's so damn good. And the conversation even happened on Twitter. It's like, should Pac be included in the best talkers in AEW conversation? Because he's for me, he's one of those who's probably underrated in that category. The bar is so incredibly high, but I would definitely say he's underrated.
I think the thing with him is that his batting average for talking segments are as high as, like, the best guys. Just that he doesn't get as many at bats as other people, or at shots at doing it. Like, I think that I think Malakai. I think he's kind of in that Malakai in a kind of scenario where it's like, you give him a video package where he gets to cut a promo in the video package. It's always spectacular. But, like, as far as in front of a live audience, they don't really do that with him. So, I don't know how you want to categorize it, but, like, he's definitely up there. I enjoy all the stuff he does. Like, I remember when when he was trying to get his title shot, when he was trying to get Omega for the the Iron Man match, and he had mentioned, like, the line was something like, I've won belts on, like, 5 different continents, and, like, I beat your Kenny Omega in, like, on, like, 72 hours notice, and, like, I sent the Hangman to go. I think he said I sent the Hangman to the Cowboy to go back to his farm and tend to his dead horse. It was something like that. Like, he's just a killer talker. I love him. Like, he's just so mean and grumpy, and, like, I love him. I love that fucking guy.
And obviously, an Englishman, just him using all of our phrases. It's like, yeah. I love seeing the reactions. Me realizing,
are you taking the piss? I remember when he said that to Shivani after the Iron Man match, I howled.
Still, my favourite is seeing the reaction to Billy Big Bollocks, man. Just seeing that reaction, it's just like, oh, it's brilliant. You don't know, obviously, you don't know phrases and sayings, but obviously, why would you know the ones?
It sounds funny though.
Yeah,
it sounds funny. Like, I know what bollocks is. Like, I know what bollocks is, but like, okay, I get that part, but I didn't know, like, obviously cultural like might have a bigger connotation than just balls, but whatever.
Anyway, after that was the rundown for the card. I think I'll end the review on the rundowns for what's coming up next. That
Okay.
might be a nice pacing. Matt Hardy with Tony. We talked about this earlier. Matt Hardy's he's down after the loss. Like maybe something should change here. When Andrade El Idolo comes in with his business message, he wants to negotiate a deal off of the one from Rampage, which got a genuine laugh out of me. When it was like, how much for the little guy? It was like, how much does he pay the little guy? I want the little guy.
Yeah.
He's like, no, they're friends.
Why does little guy work for Sting? For
Yeah.
Mr. Sting?
Like, yeah. What was it? No, they're friends. How do you know?
Okay, how you know? Yeah, he's like, okay, how you know? How you know? It's like, because I've known Shivani. He's like, because I've known Sting for 35 years.
Yeah, I just loved it. But this obviously not as funny as that on this one. But yeah, Andrade working up a business deal with Matt Hardy. I don't know where this is going. It's an interesting. It's when I say it's an interesting pair, it's because I would never in a million years have even thought to put these two together.
One thing I will give AEW credit for is what Andrade is when he like hangs out with the other like evil factions. Like it involves like the factions that are involved that are like really like let's say money driven. So like yes, I will give MJF money to then have FTR do henchman work for me because they're goons, right? They're hired goons. Like the Hardy family office, like they're all about money because like this whole thing started when Matt started trying to scam people. So I enjoy this part where it's like, what is relation? Money. The money is relation.
Yeah, yeah. I really do like the Andrade characters. It's like, I just wish he had more bigger programs. For me, he's really shown how great he can be. Like he's immediately into that upper mid card and could very quickly just jump up to main event guy. There's just not like a space for him right now. Like, I would not have been against him being like Page's first challenger, other than the fact that he's not at a point where you believe him really challenging and winning. Archer for me is a much better kind of filler feud guy. I don't want Andrade to be a filler feud.
Yeah.
I feel like he's way above that.
Same.
Anyway, speaking of filler feuds, onto the main event of the interim TNT Championship. Sammy Guevarra versus Daniel Garcia in a match I really, really loved. Watching Daniel Garcia just wrestle, there's so many little touches he puts to things. It just really helps sell it. Or give it like an edge where it feels not as clean, but that really adds that kind of dangerous damage to like a submission move or something. That for him to be wrestling like this at such a young age, is like, oh, he's something special. And I found myself saying the same thing with like some of their other, because the name that we were given were the Four Killers, playing off of the Four Pillars. So Hook and Daniel Garcia in that.
Who are the other two?
I think they said, I can't try to remember. Hook, Daniel Garcia, Dante Martin, and is there a fourth young, like teenage or early 20s guy they've got?
Would it be Lee Moriarty?
Oh, it could be Lee Moriarty. It could be Lee Moriarty. Actually, no, because Lee Moriarty's Powerhouse helps. He's in that category, I guess, as well. Like potential top feature guy. And is Lee Johnson that young too? Or is he a bit older? I think he's that young.
I don't know, but I think he might be too small potatoes for that like billing, if you will.
But yeah, so you got your four pillars who are, for me, I like the idea of them saying these are the next four champions and then they just work through them. But yeah, so you got the four pillars who are, for me, work through them slowly. Obviously, next you figure out the order of who's most ready or whatever. Then you got the four killers who, by the time those four pillars have all been gone through, these four guys, it's oh my god, the future is so bright for AEW. And Daniel Garcia, my word, I really do love the fact that AEW are giving those guys like not just a few opportunities, but like main event opportunities as well, which is it's so damn great to see. We'll say the focus afterwards was not on them. It's like, oh, that sucks. But they still got to wrestle in the main event because one day the focus will be on them. I think that's kind of why I'm fine with it. AEW are telling me one day the focus will be on them. It's not today, but it will be, and we're getting their reps in so they are ready for that moment. It's like, yeah. Obviously, it's one of those proof in concept type of things where once we see it kind of playing out, because we're not even at one of the pillars becoming champion yet. We've not. That's still not. That's not happened yet. We've got Hangman's Reign to get through first. Still a fair bit of time, but never mind talking about Daniel Garcia as a champion main eventer. It's like no. We've got like a decade to get through first. Like no, don't rush anything. We can get through it. Also, that's me. Like I'm pretty much settled that AEW will be around for quite a while, especially as they're just destroying all the expectations of the TV station and setting up for such a long-term future that I can't see much trouble really. But anyway, both Kingston and Jericho were at ringside. Don't worry, I'm sure David Crockett was watching the Watchmen. There'll be no like crazy shenanigans here. But yeah, a pillar against a killer as AEW's future main events Dynamite once again. Hell of a back and forth as Garcia strikes and counters over and over. No easy shooting star or go to hell on this night. Go to hell into an awesome sharpshooter. The double springboard cutter grounded with a bloody choke, which was awesome. But Sammy himself wasn't going to give up so easily, kicking out after a great brainbuster near fall. I think that might have been after the sharpshooter or the bloody choke, can't remember. But it was just amazing to transition into the brainbuster.
I thought it was a brainbuster. I thought I thought it was a power driver.
Oh, it was a power driver. Oh, I must have looked away as the impact happened. But yeah, the driver was onto his head. I got that bit. Yeah. When 2.0 were out to clock down Kingston and Jericho, the numbers against Sammy. But if anything, it unfocused Garcia, who clocked into Matt or Jeff. I didn't notice which one it was. And finally into the go to hell for Guevara to retain, which is when we then got the post-match beatdown into Jericho and Kingston, saving the day. Fair to say, Eddie wasn't exactly on par with Chris taking control of the beating with that baseball bat. When Kingston's so desperate to just beat up Garcia, and Jericho's there taking it away from him, completely squaring off. And the show going off the air with Jericho and Kingston squaring each other down. James, what did you make of all of this?
Really enjoyed the match. I really like Daniel Garcia's stuff. Pretty much every single match he's had in AEW has been televised. I've enjoyed it. I see some of the guys like Garcia, like Moriarty, and like I see some of the stuff they do, and I kind of know where it comes from, and I like really enjoy how they incorporate like their games into also like liking certain things in Joshi and Puro in general. So I really enjoy his style. So seeing him and Sammy, because Sammy, I think sometimes his striking can be hit or miss, especially earlier on. I think it's been more consistent of late. But seeing him enter with someone that's actually like, all right, if you throw shitty looking strikes, like it's gonna look bad in comparison to me, so you better bring it in. Like boy, did they tore into each other with some big shots, with chops with open hand strikes and like the go to hell that he gave. He gave Garcia for the finish. Like he didn't even fully rotate over. He just kneed him while he was still like kind of hung on the shoulder. I was like, that looked brutal. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And like when it comes time for them to do the interim champ versus actual champion match, like people are going to boo him even like given what Sammy's done and keeps doing. Like they're going to boo Cody even harder against Guevara this time around. Like, I don't know. I hope that was the plan, and I hope there's actually a heel turn, because, like, I've had enough of Cody and the good guy that gets booed, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Charlotte Flair thing. I think that I've always thought that sucked as a program, as a fan to watch these crowd reactions not be what you want them to be, even though the company doesn't want it to be that way, and then they have to play it off as something else. And, like, hopefully it is going to be a catalyst for a heel turn sooner rather than later, because like this long layout of this, if it actually is going to happen, like I don't want to suffer through it. I just don't.
I think I've been mostly fine with it, but for me it does have like a time limit on it, and if it gets to a point where okay, now this just is the status quo, like they got to that with John Cena in WWE. It's like it's just the status quo that some people dislike him, some people like him, and I'm just like, this could be so much more though. And with Cody, you got that opportunity because he's not like the top guy or anything. He's in the perfect role to maybe flip flop.
Rich has came up with has mentioned something to me. He may have mentioned on the show before. I'm not sure, but he pointed out like my whole thing was like, look, I think the thing with Cody is like he made himself a mid-carder by doing the stupid I could never be AEW champion if I don't win it in my first shot thing. And then like it more or less relegated him to like him almost being like a gatekeeper to mid-card for young guys. Whether especially with the TNT title where he was taking on Darby and Jungle Boy and whoever else over the 2 years, whatever else, and then he's in there with QT Marshall and then Anthony Ogogo, and then you're kind of like, wait a second, man. Like, Rich is like, it's not that like, yeah, it's selfless that he's out here feuding with the next generation of guys and quote unquote getting them over, but he's also like doing this thing where like he is still a top guy, but like he won't get in the mix with any other top guy, and he is more or less like just by doing that he's not doing any jobs being the top guy. So like as much as selfless as you feel, like on one end you could also say it's selfish because like he's not like after Moxley's title reign, why didn't he go face Moxley and go promo for promo with two of the best talkers in the industry and then have a match?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like that would have been helpful for a lot of these guys in down cycles. Like, what's Bryan Danielson going to do? Like, what is Adam Cole going to do in the future? And it's like, oh well, Cody's in mid card land, or everybody else is the top guys, and they're actually beating each other.
Yes, but they dropped down to Cody's level, but he's then busy with the whatever's next. I feel like
it's just maybe it's just a thing where it's never happened yet, but like it's been like 2 years almost.
Oh yeah, like I feel like because he was like in the first year of AEW, like one of the most over baby faces.
He won the most over baby face the last 5 years of American Pro Wrestling.
Like it was incredible to see. For me, I don't mind the turn, and the fact that he's wearing the Homelander gear was just such an absolutely screaming thing of either you're missing the entire point of the character. And this is just like, yeah, America. This is like a superhero for America, or it is on the nose on purpose, which I like to immediately think it is. Where it is
you will hope it is,
yeah. Especially given like the type of level you've seen from Cody in the Bullet Club is Fine angle. Like you saw levels of detail in there, so he can do it, and the way that AEW tells stories as well. So I'm fine with him kind of treading that Homelander line of I truly believe I am a good guy, but everyone who gets to know him immediately knows he's not. And I do like that, and that becoming more and more open and apparent as time goes on.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
and maybe it will be more apparent if you stop going through flaming tables to get our affection.
Oh yeah, which again works if they're doing the Homelander thing because he's I'm doing all of this.
He's peacocking.
Yeah, he's peacocking. Yeah, and then he does worse and worse things to get the affection because that's the thing he craves the most, which is basically, I guess, I say spoilers for the Homelander character, but that's the thing that drives him the most is that affection. And when he doesn't get it, that's when you see things turn. And for Cody, the fact that he's getting that 50-50 split, as things slowly turn, hopefully it doesn't take as long as it takes the show to get to the point of like an ultimate snap or anything. Given Series 3 and he comes out this year, it's like, please don't try and keep in line with the show because the TV show has like a massive production to overhaul, to undertake. It will be ages. I don't think you can keep this going for like 2-3 more years. Please. Yeah, it's reached a point for me. No.
I can't stand it for 6 more months.
I feel like for me it's reached a point where I need it to go somewhere. And even if it's just somewhere, I don't need it to immediately like reach the destination of like do the heel turn right now. I just need to progress from where it is now. Like give me an inkling it's going in a direction.
Right.
Otherwise, I will just fall into the John Cena thing of okay, this could be great, but it's not, is it? It's just going to be when he comes out, he's controversial. Some people like him, some people hate him, and that's it. You don't really go into why. It's like, but I want to go into why. And AEW feel like are competent in doing that, which would make it a bigger missed opportunity because that competency's there, which would make it worse if they don't do it. It's a higher bar. It's a higher bar in AEW. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode of Dynamite. This Friday on Rampage, we have Trent versus Adam Cole, Statlander, Velvet, and Hirsch versus Nyla Rose, Penelope Ford, and the Bunny. Sean Spears versus Andrew Everett. Okay, good for him. He's on Rampage out of nowhere. A look at Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez. And the main event of the AEW World Tag Team Championship, Jungle Express versus Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds. And for Dynamite next week, I do like this with AEW, where there's that hype train is constantly rolling, and you know what's on the next episode. For the next 2 shows that are coming up, you immediately know what's right around the corner. Cassidy and Statlander versus Cole and Baker, the big mixed tag match. Punk versus Spears. Deeb versus Sky Blue. The return of Cody Rhodes. The triumphant return of our hero. Sting and Darby versus the Acclaimed as well. And yeah, there's a lot. The thing I like about the AEW train is right around the corner. There's like 5 or 6 different things per show before you get anywhere near the actual show itself. It's like, yeah, I'm a massive fan. You're not going to have a WWE thing of, oh, pay-per-view out of nowhere. Oh, crap, we need to do some quick feuds. It's like, how can a pay-per-view catch you out of nowhere? You control everything. This is so weird. And yeah, AW just obviously they do the 4 pay-per-views a year thing, but with their weekly shows, they like the next show is already massively thought about.
Right. Yeah. And this isn't even necessarily like a critique of only WWE does. It's like NXT used to do that. Like NXT before it got moved to live television, you would know the entire card next week, and then you would know like 2 or 3 things like the next week after that. And then weeks and then you get to the 4 big pay-per-views or 5 big pay-per-views per year, and like even at their at certain times, it will be bad as far as knowing what will happen the next week once it went to national television, which is USA. But like most of the black and gold era, like you knew more than half the stuff that was going to happen on the next show. Yeah. So yeah, it's a Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard. In a way, also Paul Heyman problem than an actual like WWE problem. Like the rest of pro wrestling knows how to tell you what the hell is going to happen next. Just them, no.
I think when I was talking about the state of WWE on Tuesday, one of the things I brought up was like it's just like you're not telling. It's not like when you're telling a story to a kid and you're like, well, and they go, oh, can you tell me this at bedtime? It's like, oh, can you tell me can you continue the story, please? And you're like, oh, crap, I've not thought about this. I don't know where this is going. It's just like, we'll see. Let's see where this goes. It's like, no, you're on national television. This is like, you should probably be thinking ahead about what's going here. Compared to with the kid who was like, oh, I don't know, the owl went to the school. I don't know. I don't thought about it. It's not the same world.
Right. Yeah. Like, if you want to be a soap opera, be a soap opera and, like, treat the end of your show like it's the Friday cliffhanger. Yeah. Get people hooked to tune in for the next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you watch AEW...
No, I don't want to. I don't want to tell people what's coming next. Okay, man.
What if I change my mind? It's like, just believe in yourself. Well, believe in your own product. That's the one thing I think with WWE. Just believe in yourself. Like, if you confidently stride forward with a story or something, even if it's crap, you're at least presenting something with continuity or something, rather than changing your mind every other week. And I'm trying to keep up when compared to starting a segment and not really getting engaged because I don't know if it will be going in a week's time. It's like that's not how it's a TV show at all. But yeah, when you watch Dynamite, like before the main event, there's like just like, I'm sorry people, but we have got about 10 things just to quickly announce and get through. It's like, yeah, and it's just the speed they do it with as well. I have to pause these to write down who's in the matches. It's just because when the 6-woman tag came up, I'm like, I had to go back, just pause it. It's like, I've not got everybody's name that's in this. Like, I can't remember how to spell Hirsch for some reason. It's just too much. But yeah, for me, a oddly paced Dynamite with moments to talk about, and there is a lot of good coming off of the episode, but to actually sit and watch it, it wasn't the best. And
the matches.
Yeah. And for me to say that even like the worst episodes of Dynamite, there's still a million things to talk about. There's still so many things spinning off of it. The car is still driving down that road incredibly quickly, and you know where things are going, and that's great. There's so many talking points, even though not the best show to watch. So yeah, decent but oddly paced. Oddly structured. It's kind of slowed and bogged it down. Anyway, James, before we get out of here, do you want to plug all of your shit?
Oh man, Yeah, find me on Twitter at JamesBoyd87. Also, I do a podcast with a contributor on this show as well named Rich Latta. It's called One Nation Radio. You can find us on Twitter at One Nation Radio. We are in the process of sending out our One Nation Radio nominations. One Nation. Sorry, let me start over. We're in the process of sending out our One Nation Radio Awards of 2001. As far as the nomination sheets, I think Rich has it up. I'll shoot you the link for people to vote. It's more or less the best and the worst of WWE, AEW, New Japan, and Stardom. And I'm trying to think, what else do we have on tap? We did a show, I think. I have trouble sleeping. Sometimes I sleep 1 hour, so I don't sleep like some days, and I forget what day it is. So today is Thursday, correct?
Correct.
So Tuesday night, we did a show basically going over nominees for that. So you can check that out if you want to. But yeah, I'll be sure to send you the link to it, Amp, so you can get your vote on too.
Awesome. I did see Rich tweet it out, but obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. Busy making my lighting absolutely perfect, which is really not necessary. Again, the majority of our audience listens to the podcast version, so awesome. I'm putting effort into this side. If you're a podcast-only listener, one of the majority of you, I am putting effort. I've got lovely lighting. Anyway, I'm obviously waffling. I need to go to bed. I'm up in 4 hours, so it's going to be fun.
Oh man, welcome to my world.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have kids. I don't do this very often. I don't. For me, getting up that early, it's not that regular, especially in like the lockdown pandemic world with many stuff just working from home. Like the computer's in the same room as my bed. If I'm really lazy, I can just go straight there. Not recommended, by the way. Do get up in time and wake up and like get you breakfast. Enjoy a cup of tea. I'm British. I obviously start the day with a cup of tea every day. That's not a bit either. Generally,
is that
every
a shoot?
Day. That's a shoot every day. Start it off with a cup of tea. A shoot Britishness. And if I ever go to America, I will. I've been told the American tea is awful, so maybe it's not worth it. It's just.
I've never had hot tea before, so I couldn't even tell you.
Oh, of course, yeah. Iced tea is a disgrace. There's a thing in America, yeah. It's I'm realising that's a whole tangent. It is 2 a.m. I need to get to bed. So anyway, with that, I say you can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat, the Dam's in Damn. If you want to follow me on Twitch, that's the Implications with 2 S's. I am live. I need to hit up Rance Morris, who I did the State of AEW with on Tuesday. We only got halfway through because there were so many positives to talk about for both shows. It took us like an hour for each. I realised I'm not doing a 4-hour podcast. I'm not Jeremy Donovan. I'm not doing this. Let's split this in two. So I need to hit him up to hopefully record part 2 of that, as in the negatives. Hooray! Well, end of the show being lovely. We're going to end next week's show being horrible. We hate wrestling and everything in it. That's the tone we go for. No, maybe on Tuesday we need to hit him up. Anyway, so I should be live on Tuesday if that works out. If not, I'll be here next week. No, I feel like I am like officially like maybe dropping the Raw reviews. Like they're there as a potential filler, but the amount, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. And like engagement wise as well. Like I don't know, because I've seen other sites notice this as well. Raw is the least engaged with out of all of the review shows. People just don't care. It's just low quality. There's nothing to talk about. So why would you engage with it more? Like NXT at least has stuff to talk about.
It is a 3-hour B show.
Yeah, 3-hour B show, and it's the writing quality that it's always been, and now it's a B show. It's like, awesome, great, yeah. But yeah, like still, I'm not saying it's like an anti-WWE thing because NXT and SmackDown still do all right. It's just no one cares about Raw unless something huge happens. I don't know if Brock has been enough to inject it because I didn't review it. I did a state of year review thing instead. Anyway, with that, I say thank you for watching, listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. One day I'll write that down so I don't have to pause with an to remember it all. Anyway, with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.